So now that we're on the same page on what, for example, the research institutes are defining identity governance, and as I mentioned, that there are some risks, likelihood, impact, and results that we have seen in the market. Let's take a look at what does fine grain mean and how can SafePaaS provide that. So at SafePaaS, the fine grain IDM actually is central to our business mission, and you can see that in this example that SafePaaS itself is a platform as a service, so it sits in the cloud. And by being a platform, it has the ability to be configured for many different data sources that may sit on the cloud or on premise through various connections that our clients establish, push, pull, whatever the methodology that makes sense to them. So we have many different ways to connect to all 90% of the world's information system, business critical application systems out of the box. Chances are if using something like Oracle, Microsoft, SAP, we already have a connection because a lot of our customers use that. If it's something really homegrown, we can probably connect to that with a little bit of understanding of what's the APIs can be attached and so forth within a couple of weeks of worth of effort. So it's a global, flexible system with built-in risk management for access governance. And the tool we provide our clients to do this is called Data Probe, which enables them to quickly connect to us and then be able to securely transfer information we need to perform the user fine-grained identity governance. Also, we support many different devices, so you can come in through a mobile device or a traditional computer laptop. So just break that down a little bit. Financial identity governance is part of our overall information governance platform. It has more components than just access governance. And the reason for that is we think of enterprise today as buying a holistic information governance solution as opposed to buying a number of fragmented cases, because we have all seen that you can buy a lot of point solutions, but in the modern way, to be an agile business, you got to have it all flow together, and you can't just piecemeal things together and hope they work. We've seen that in the ERP market with the successful transition from siloed accounting, finance applications to an enterprise platform. And so that's our vision to the market, is that ultimately, it'll be about information governance that includes access governance as a key component. So we provide application governance, we provide process governance, we provide the platform where you can put your risk control audit information so that it's all fully integrated and visible to senior management through the advanced analytics capabilities, where predictive analytics can help you prevent these risks from happening in the future. So a lot to cover. Today's focus, I'll stay on that, which is fine-grained identity governance. So if you look at how we break that fine-grained identity governance, it basically breaks down into pretty closely to what I mentioned in the description of identity governance in the previous segment. But basically, it has the policy, the ability to test those policies, SAML API, which enables us to do integration with IDMs if you have some, roles manager, which are basically that entitlement management component of the IDM requirements, user provisioning, role-based, workflow-based, firefighter for privileged users, and then monitoring and certification. So you can see we check all the boxes of what the market leaders and research organizations that do independent IT research have indicated what a good identity governance system has. What makes us unique, and the extra step or the extra mile that we go for you, is the ability to fine-grain it, which means that we contextualize that down to the element of data and the element of the security at the very lowest level. And that combination makes us fine-grained and unique uniquely positioned to protect your data and your privileges that the traditional, first or second generation folks that came to the market of just automation have not paid attention as much to that problem. But that's what the market is needing, and that's where customers are coming in and saying that we need that, that level of assurance down at the very transaction level and not just at the role level, because role I can rename a role from procurement to finance, and underneath it could still give you all the access to procurement and bank accounts, right? So we all know that that's a game that not only the externals can play, that the threats from outside can happen, but also And realistically, when you implement a new system, those kind of things we have seen from experience. So if you do have an IDM system, we do provide API services. So SafePaaS access controls can work in conjunction with your ticketing system, if that's what you're using for manual IDM. Or if you're using a sophisticated IDM system, you've already invested in that, you don't need to throw that away. We can leverage that and basically talk to it through these various IDM services that iAccess offers, which is one of the products that we'll talk about in our case study. So now let's talk about the last few minutes we have. Let's talk about that case study and see how our customers are using identity governance that SafePaaS has put together to get that fine-grained level of security, right? So one of our clients is in the, it's a government agency. So I picked this because their threshold for risk is very, very low as compared to any business, right? They're the organization in the US that's been mandated to ensure the safety and security as well as the reliability of our nuclear arsenal, the deterrent arsenal we have to protect the nation, right? So it's as big a mission, I believe, that an organization can have, which is really the protection of us as a nation. And so their focus is to just basically look at global threats, whether it's from terrorism, from weapons of mass destruction, and really respond to that in a way that is consistent with our values and strategy and the science behind it, right? So when they were looking at improving their identity governance, they of course had the systems in place. So I'm not saying that we just showed up and showed them how to do this. They already have very sophisticated methods of giving users access, and they were looking for the best possible solution, and they had the option to go to anyone in the world, and certainly any technology company in the US to buy the best for the protection of our nation. And so they chose SafePaaS to replace a number of their legacy ID governance systems. I think you all saw my example earlier about the fragmented approach to identity governance, and unfortunately that's what they had. I mean, so they were completely doing what they need to, but it was just taking them a tremendous amount of time to accomplish this. And so maintaining access, consistent access across their ERP system, subsidiaries, etc., that had shared services, etc. And then of course they have lots of auditors, as you might imagine. And the auditors were looking at, being able to rely on this data and be able to perform certification through access controls monitoring. So they chose us and our product, SafePaaS, which is the platform that I had mentioned, and I'll share a little bit examples. Of course, this is just demo information. I can't share their information, but at the end of the day, the results were fantastic for them. They were able to not only improve their controls, but also reduce the cost on the taxpayer. So one of their objectives and mission is to improve efficiencies and save taxpayer where they can. So we were able to help them, give them a $50,000 per year saving, and I think it's grown since then as their user base has grown, and also their remediation cost has been reduced, and the manual steps that they were implementing to be able to manage this very cumbersome access governance process for a high-risk organization, they're able to mitigate that risk. They used SafePaaS to create certain policies to compliance with the provisioning process, which goes beyond just segregation of duties. They're not a Wall Street listed public company where you just check the box with SOD and say, I'm done. They really care about protecting the information from getting in the wrong hands. So the likelihood and the impact analysis that they did on access risk was significantly held to a higher standard than I've seen at just a normal run-of-the-mill public company. So they also were able to, by putting the rules and remediation process in with SafePaaS, they're able to reduce their cost of ownership overall and improve their controls and policies by implementing the ability to review, update, prepare, review, and update changes to their roles and role design. which is a root cause of many of these entitlement creeps that we talked about earlier. And they were able to accelerate their approval process. So, the faster you can get access to the correct information you need, the faster you can be productive in doing your mission, which is to protect our nation against the threats. So that's a fantastic success story from my perspective. Really proud to have them as a customer. 3 years into it, they continue to give us some really good feedback, and we continue to improve our products as they learn and the new science comes to the market. So that's a success story. How